Hello everyone and welcome to my video. I'm the Caravel and today I'm explaining you the phases of a turn at Yugioh. So we have we have exactly 6 basic phases on turns. We have the draw phase, the standby phase, the main phase 1, the battle phase, main phase 2, and end phase. And they always are in this order. So the draw phase is the phase where you draw a card at the beginning of every turn, unless you go first, and yeah, it is your first turn. Afterwards, you can draw cards. You draw one card from your main deck, and then you basically end the phase, unless either of you activates an effect during the draw phase. If your opponent uses an effect during your draw phase, you can decide if you want to continue your draw phase to use an effect then, or if you want to proceed to the next phase. And the first thing you always do is draw a card, and nothing else can happen before you draw that card. No one can activate any effects otherwise. Okay, next is the standby phase. The standby phase, there both players can use effects that are quick effects, traps, spells, basically that only, or effects that explicitly mention the standby phase. Like if an effect was activated that says, okay, during your next standby phase, you can do this and this, then it would happen during that phase. Okay, same again. If you end the phase, your opponent activates an effect. You can choose to proceed with the same phase, or to proceed with going to the next phase. Okay. Then next is the main phase 1. And this is one of the most important phases. During the main phase 1, and also main phase 2, basically main phase 1 and 2 are exactly the same. During those, you can summon monsters. You have your normal summon. If you use your normal summon on main phase 1, you can't use your normal summon on main phase 2 as well. You only have one. Same with the pendulum summon or such. Everything is only once per turn. So yeah, you can use your normal summon. You can do special summons that aren't quick effects. You can activate spell cards. You can set spells or traps. You can activate traps if you have set them the previous turn. And you can also switch the positions of monsters. That's what you basically do on the main phase. So basically you have the freedom to do pretty much whatever you want, except for battling. And yeah, you can also you don't have to wait for your opponent to do something, or you also don't need a quick effect necessarily. You can do that just how you want it. You can activate a normal spell. You can start actions. If it is your main phase, you start actions. Important is, if it is your turn, you have turn priority. Turn priority means the turn player gets to do things first. So if you do something, then on your turn, your opponent can respond to it, but they can't do something before you either activate a card or want to switch the phase, or activate an effect, or summon a monster. They always have to, they can only react to something that happens. Or if it is your opponent's turn, you can only react. You can't actually act on your own. Okay. Then, same again. If you want to go to the battle phase, then you can say, okay, I go to the battle phase. If your opponent activates something, and that resolved, after that you get the choice, okay, do you want to proceed with main phase 1? Or do you want to go to the battle phase? If you can still go to the battle phase, then will start the battle phase. Okay. Then, next is the battle phase. At the battle phase, we have the start step. A start step is you enter the battle phase. Some effects happen at the beginning of the battle phase. That's basically what that is. And during the start step, you can do stuff without attacking yet. Okay. That's basically the start step. The start step is an open game state. Open game state means effect cards and effects can be used without having to be quick effects. A closed game state is you can only chain two effects. Okay. Okay. Now next is let's say you have this monster. You have the opponent has this monster in attack position. You have better the Magna Warrior as in attack position. Then you can say, okay, I declare an attack on my opponent's monster. Then what happens next is, since you declared an attack, the battle step starts. During the battle step, either player can activate effects to boost monsters, to switch positions, to do whatever, to help their monsters, or to just do something. That means if, for example, your opponent removes their monster and has no monster left, or has different monsters now on the field, you can redeclare a different attack target. If your monster doesn't have any monsters, for example, you can say, okay, I want to attack directly to do that. But yeah, if it is during the battle step, you can choose a different attack target. If anything at the monsters changes, like if any of the monsters leaves the field, a new monster is summoned, or yeah, if something like that happens, or if your opponent changed the position of your monster, for example, to defense position, your attack won't happen, and that ends. Then you go back to the open game state again. Though you aren't at the start step anymore, you are still in the battle phase, but not at the start step. Okay. Now, let's think. Yeah, okay. We have another battle step. Okay, no one activates something. Then you go to the damage step. At the damage step, what happens? You can still use effects to boost your monster, or both players can only use effects now to either increase or decrease attack or defense points of their monster, or to negate activations of effects. They can't use anything else than negating activations or increasing the attack or defense points of monsters, or to decrease them. Then, also important is first, for example, if a monster is face down, what happens first at the damage step is first the monster is slipped up. Then you can choose, okay, do I want to activate an effect that for example boosts my monster or weakens my opponent's monster? And then the battle proceeds. For example, if my opponent has an attack position monster, and let's say my Magna Warrior has more attack than my opponent's monster, then his monster my opponent gets damage to his life points, equal to the difference in the attack points, and the monster is sent to the graveyard. It is destroyed by battle. Then, if the monster is stronger though, it is the same way around. My monster is destroyed, I take the damage. I take the damage, my monster is destroyed. Then we go back to the normal battle phase. The next thing is you see at the damage step, you can actually improve attack and such, attack points and such. Then you go to the damage calculation. Damage calculation means damage is calculated like which player gets battle damage, which monster is destroyed. So it's like battle step, damage calculation, back to the battle phase. To the normal battle phase. Then again, battle step, damage calculation. But yeah, the damage calculation is basically part of the damage step, just that it only happens once neither player wants to activate anything anymore. Okay, also if during the damage step a monster leaves the field, you can't redeclare your attack It's just your attack didn't succeed, nothing happened. Okay. Also, next is, if a monster is in defense position and you attack, if your monster is stronger, you will destroy the opponent's monster, but the opponent won't take damage. Because in defense position, the defending monster defends from damage. There won't be damage to a player that had the defense position monster. If the defense position monster is stronger, your monster isn't destroyed because the opponent didn't have an attack position monster, so it was only defending, it wasn't attacking actually as well. But if your attack was lower, you take damage. And oh yeah, that's basically how it works. And if you declare a direct attack because your opponent didn't have any monsters on the field, you can also attack directly. If your opponent doesn't have any monsters on the field, then you attack directly and your opponent loses life points equal to the attack points of your monster. So, again, attack versus attack position means one monster is destroyed, and the one with the lower attack points, the player that controlled the weaker monster takes damage equal to the difference. If both monsters have the same, both monsters are destroyed. Or if both monsters, that's a special rule, if both monsters have 0 attack points, neither monster can be destroyed, because we can't destroy a monster with 0 attack. Okay, and defense position means no damage to the defending player, or damage to you if you have lower attack points than the defense points. But your monster also won't be destroyed then. Okay. And of course, if you attack directly, the damage is dealt equal to the attack points of your monster then. Okay. Also, important is there also are effects that say, yeah, you deal piercing battle damage. Piercing battle damage means your opponent has a defense monster, for example. You have the monster that has that effect. You attack the monster. If the opponent has a weaker monster, you still deal damage because your monster has the effect to deal piercing battle damage. Piercing means you deal damage even when the monster is in defense position. Unless your monster is weaker, of course. And the monster is still destroyed, but yeah. It's kind of like treat as an attack position, just that you use the defense points for calculation. Okay. Also, after the damage calculation, effects can happen if a monster is destroyed, depending on if the monster has an effect that says, yeah, if this monster is destroyed by battle, for example. Or if this monster is sent to the graveyard, then effects can happen. But those are only after the damage calculation or damage step and such. Okay. And then there is the end step of the battle phase. The end step is you end the battle phase, and some effects may happen at the end of the battle phase. And your opponent can activate effects, of course, and you can choose to proceed with your battle phase or to go to the main phase 2. But yeah, that's how the battle phase works. Next, we have the main phase 2. During main phase 2, you can do exactly the same thing as on main phase 1. Just if you use your normal summon already or your pendulum summon, you can't use them again. You can still you can summon monsters, you can set monsters, you can set spells or traps, or activate them. Also important is during main phase 1 and 2, if you have a monster and want to set it, setting a monster always counts as normal summon. Except for if it is an effect that says, yeah, special summon it in face down defense position. But yeah. Okay, then we have the main phase 2 done. Again, same thing again. If you end your phase, your opponent gets to choose if he wants to use an effect or such. And if he does, and the effect resolved, then you get to choose if you want to proceed with main phase 2 or go to the end phase. Okay, and the last phase is the end phase. End phase means some effects happen, activate the effects can be activated, but you can't activate spell cards except for quick play spells. Traps can be activated, quick effects can be activated. You can summon monsters if there isn't by an effect, and also you can't normal summon or such. And yeah, basically it is the last step, the last phase on your turn. And if no one uses any effects or such, or nothing has to resolve, then you can say, okay, I end my turn, and it goes to your opponent's turn then. And also important, at the last thing on your turn is if you have more than 6 cards in your hand during your turn, then you have to discard cards as long until you have only 6 cards left in your hand, because the hand size limit is only 6 cards. You can have more in your hand, but at the end of your end phase, you have to discard until you have only 6 cards left. During the opponent's turn, it doesn't matter. It happens only during your end phase. Okay, and of course there can also be effects that are resolved during the end phase, kind of like at the standby phase. But yeah, that's basically it for the different phases. So I hope you understood everything. If you have any questions, just write it in the comments. Also, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like, subscribe. Also, check out the other playthroughs on my channel if you want to watch more. In the description, find a link to the link tree where you can find all the profiles linked to this channel, including the Twitch channel where you can watch me stream live, and also the post where you can vote for the next games I'll play, and the players use on the next eFootball stream. And if you have any wishes, questions, or feedback, then write it in the comments, and I'll make sure to read and reply, and I hope to see you next time again. Have a great time, bye bye.